it's not about what can I get? It's about, hey, how can I help you? Like, I want to know about you. And that's, to me, when I go back where I've had the best sales, dude, that's what it's about. Marketing, in my opinion, is about trust and influence. That's also what leadership is about. And so when you develop trust, that's how you're going to develop, that's how you're going to have influence. And if you're trying to do high pressure sales, if you're trying to push people into something, dude, it's never going to work. It's going to be short term. And then people are going to be like, I understand all they wanted to get was my money. And there's a lot of people that say, hey, you got my money. I want to run as far as I can from those people, because all they see me as a dollar sign and not the value that I have to offer that maybe I don't even understand.
Tyler, you're a husband, you're a father, you're an entrepreneur, speaker, you're a member of the John Maxwell Network Marketing Advisory Council, podcast host, much more, man. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad to be here. Glad to chat with you.
Yeah, I'm super pumped about this because I've talked with you personally. We've sat down, had some coffee, and I think your story is really awesome and very impactful. And one of the things that I like to do with my shows is kind of go back, man. Where did you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
Yeah. Well, it was funny, as one of the things I like to do is, when we chatted, we got coffee, which has been too long ago. If we would just open up the world, we could like do that a little bit more. And we only live like 30 miles from each other, whatever. But I love to kind of get prepared, right? And that's something you've done. And so I was just listening to one of your podcasts, and I was thinking about that. It's like, oh, my childhood, and your guests like, oh, mine was a normal childhood. It's like, mine was anything but normal, partly because I grew up on a farm, and that's not normal to a lot of people. I grew up on a dairy farm in Northeast Ohio. We had Holstein cows, which black and white ones. And, so it was a small dairy farm. It was family run.
Wow.
The workforce for much of my, I would say, teenage, kind of early preteen through when we, liquidated our operation was my parents and myself and my sister. And that was it. It was the four of us. And,
Gotcha.
That was my childhood. That's what I knew. I didn't know any different per se. I was involved in a lot of, activities along those lines. Yeah, I played some sports, but I was a tiny little guy. So I love sports, but they didn't love me so much. I was, as I was telling my brother-in-law yesterday, I was small, I was uncoordinated, and I wasn't fast.
Okay.
Not a good combination to be an athlete.
For sure. That's awesome, man. Well, so you've kind of been around this whole entrepreneurship thing your whole life, but was there anyone that kind of inspired you most or pushed you most into that area?
I'd say it was a burning desire that I didn't realize I had.
Okay.
So yeah, I grew up on a farm. My parents were entrepreneurs by that fact. My dad, he was, so we had a dairy farm, but then he also took on a job as a nutritionist for dairy cows. And he did that because, farming is not real lucrative and he needed additional income stream, had the opportunity. And so he started that in, I think, 1983. So I was like 82, 83. I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Okay.
And so that's what I saw him doing. He had this farm and he also had this other business, and that was just normal to me.
Right.
And when I was I think it was 8 or 9 years old, I started to spend a lot of time with a veterinarian that worked on our farm, and really a major mentor in my life without even necessarily putting my finger on realizing it. And, he kind of, again, entrepreneurial business, owned a business with a couple other partners. And so that was just like normal to me. And where it came to a point of I understood I was entrepreneurial but didn't realize it was about 2 or 3 years into my first career.
Okay.
So I went to Cornell University, upstate New York, saw more snow I'd ever seen in my life. I'm like, I got to get out of here. Moved to California where there's a lot of cows, and I took a job as a nutritionist for dairy cows. And I did that for 13 years in total, but I worked for a company for 5. Okay. And I probably enjoyed that for about 2. Right. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I was doing. I enjoyed serving people, but it was hard because I couldn't make some of the decisions. I was, had managers, had bosses that, I just didn't align with from a values point of view, I realize now. Yeah. And so about a couple years into that, it's like, I want to start my own business. And I was conflicted because it's like, I want to start my own business. I know other people are doing it. They're independent nutritionists, have their own business, but I was still naive enough and kind of had this mentality. It's like, well, I got a job and I was getting a 401k match and I had to stay there for 5 years to get vested. And so as I look back now, it was the dumbest money I ever wanted to save was spending time to be vested, because I was holding myself back from the growing that I needed. I knew I needed to do. So it was a great lesson. That money's there. I don't even realize it, whatever. But that's how I understood that really my nature was about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, you've been building businesses for like 20 years more, and you've generated over $500 million in sales, and building businesses and doing sales as tough as it is anyways. I've been in sales for that long, certainly haven't generated that much, but what do you think has helped you be so successful throughout your career and even what you're doing today?
Man, as you say those numbers, I kind of like, no, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't really think about it. Yes, that's happened. I realize that's happened, but that's where a part of me, it's funny. To me, to understand sometimes in my life, I got to look at it from the outside in. Yeah. And, one of the things that I realized, and I had a friend share, and she talked about women in business feeling pressured to follow this sales memorandum because that's what sales teachers tell. Yeah. And so she and I had this conversation because I've been in the network marketing industry the last 10 years. So that's a very heavy female industry. And I've seen this kind of from a different angle. So she and I went back and forth on that. But even if I go back to my nutrition business, I've realized I'm a connector. That's what I love to do. That's how I go about things. I'm not a networker. I had a friend on his podcast. He did a great job describing it. And as he described it, I was like, oh, networking just makes me cringe. It's like, no, it's not about what can I get. It's about, hey, how can I help you? Like, I want to know about you. And that's, to me, when I go back where I've had the best sales, dude, that's what it's about. Marketing, in my opinion, is about trust and influence. That's also what leadership is about. And so when you develop trust, that's how you're going to develop, that's how you're going to have influence. And if you're trying to do high pressure sales, if you're trying to push people into something, dude, it's never going to work. It's going to be short term. And then people are going to be like, I understand all they wanted to get was my money. And there's a lot of people that say, hey, you got my money. I want to run as far as I can from those people, because all they see me as a dollar sign and not the value that I have to offer that maybe I don't even understand. And so when I look at the sales and the stuff we've done, and my wife and I are in our business, and I look back at my other business, it's been about that. It's how to connect with people, how to say, I don't have the solution for you, but you know who does? My buddy Eric. He will take care of you. He's a great guy. He has many of the same values. He's going to take care of you. I can't do that. Even if we're in the same space, if I know that you or someone else is better suited to take care of somebody, dude, I absolutely have them do it. And that was through a learning lesson of failing, trying to meet expectations and needs of people that I had no business to meet. So,
man, that's such a great answer though. Like I'm the same way. Like I've never considered myself good at sales, but I love relationship building and I love connecting with people. I'm fascinated with people's stories, man. Like, tell me about yourself. Like people, they like to talk about themselves. And I selfishly started the podcast because I wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with people like yourself. Like, and then you're making an impact on me. I'm like, man, other people need to hear this stuff like right now. Like,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that was much the same. I mean, my podcast, my wife and I started a podcast. And the reason I started a podcast is I have this thought and idea. We know Instagram stories, right? And that's kind of that, just share what a life is about. Instagram stories is to Instagram. Yeah. Now, I understand this is an SAT correlation for a lot of people listening. They've never done that. I was not good at analogies, SATs, but Instagram stories is to Instagram as podcasts are to websites. You look at somebody's website. Yeah, there's some videos there, but when you listen to their podcast, you understand, oh, that's who they are. And so that's why we started podcasts. Like, hey, I want people to understand who we are. Well, what I fell in love with was interviewing people and learning from them.
Right.
Like, this is great. I love this. And so, it's been on my heart for, the last year or so to do podcasts again, to host my own, to be able to kind of be that curator and conduit of information. And so as recently just kind of God put on my hand, hey, you need to start now. And I had kind of the idea brewing, but I decided after talking to a friend on Wednesday, hey, I'm going to start my podcast. I recorded the first episode on that following Monday. And it was just like, bam, happened. So.
That's so good, man. It's all about taking massive action, man. And I think like you get an idea, you just don't want to sit on it, man. I love that you just jumped right on it. One of the things that I've noticed, like you've got your podcast as Impact Driven Leader Podcast. It's amazing. People need to go out and check it out. But one of your missions is to really help the men and women embrace, insecurities and strengths to become what you call impact driven leaders for their industries. You've got that roundtable community, which is great. You've got 2 tiers of memberships, and they've got the book club. What is an impact driven leader, and how do folks get to that?
Yeah. To me, and this isn't a curated proper answer, there's probably one that someone's taken my words and done a great job of communicating on my website. Great people in my life surround me.
Yeah.
One of the things for me is to make an impact is to want to make a difference.
Yes.
Is to, almost there's an element of, as we all mature, we start to come to this point of dying to ourselves. Meaning, I heard this morning, you got to be selfish enough to want to take care of yourself, but selfless enough to realize that only taking care of yourself won't get you anywhere in life. You'll be unhappy, just really unhappy. And I think that's what being an impact-driven leader is about. It's like, I want to make an impact. Well, how do I do it? Well, part of that is wrestling with your own insecurities. The thing that holds you back from that relationship, the ability to connect, the ability to empathize with people. I'm reading a fun book right now. It's called Leadership in Turbulent Times. It's by Doris Kearns Goodwin. But it's about Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and Lyndon Johnson. I've never been a history buff, but I love it because one of the things that, as I heard about that book at a John Maxwell event, actually, she was there speaking, and she talked about empathy. And I realized, to me, and my growing out of understanding my own insecurities, is I had to learn how to be more empathetic of others and understanding what healthy empathy is. I would say when you're devoid of empathy, which I was for a lot of my life, people view you as an asshole. Sorry if I just gave you the E, but I don't know how better to describe it. And people have described me that way, and I got to own it. Yeah. And yet, at the same point, I'm going to caution people. Like, oh, okay, that's one extreme. The other extreme is you're an absolute doormat. You're an enabler. People walk all over you. I think in our discussions, we talked a little bit about that stuff and how people in life that they're afraid to stand up and make people accountable.
Yep.
And so they're a doormat. That is unhealthy empathy. But somewhere in the middle where you can say, hey, I love you, I care about you. And it's really this accountability is, I want to know more about you. I want to know more about what makes you tick, what you're interested in. And so as I read this book now, and I learn about these 4 great figures in our history as a country that did things at amazing times. Lincoln during, the Civil War, Teddy Roosevelt during the coal crisis, pre-World War I. You had, FDR during World War II. You had Lyndon Johnson during Vietnam, all these things. Some major crises in our country. And, our country's kind of similarly there. It's not different, similar. Yep. And how they grew in empathy. They understood it wasn't about them, but their legacy was going to be about the impact they made taking care of others. And so when I think about all of that as an impact-driven leader, it's like, how can I use the gifts I have been given to impact and help other people, not for me, but for them. But I got to be healthy to do that. You got to be healthy to do that. And let's go.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so good. And the cool thing about you too is you are part of the John Maxwell Network Marketing Advisory Council, and you and I talked about that. And John Maxwell is such a world changer, man. But how did you meet John, and how did you end up on the Marketing Advisory Council for him, man?
That's a funny story. So I just had the pleasure, and I'll share this for your audience. Don't know when there's a launch, but the book I'm profiling is in February, is John's new book, Change Your World. And so I got the opportunity to interview John earlier this week for my podcast. Sweet. And it was so much fun. And I started that off as we've gotten a pretty intimate relationship. We've done some really cool things together, but it's been a very short window. And so I'm going to tell you about the power of Instagram. But before the power of Instagram, I'm going to tell you about the power of intention. So the year 2017 came, and I'm not great about journaling and writing this stuff out, but that year I did. And it was, I have an intention to look for a mentor. And I want to find, I never really had someone I'd say was a mentor. So I made that intention out in January, kind of followed it, reached out to a few people, and it didn't go anywhere. And it's like, that's okay. Well, in July of that year, my wife was scrolling on Instagram, and she sees this advertisement for a John Maxwell program. Now, we had not subscribed to anything John Maxwell, maybe followed him on Instagram. I knew who he was. I'd read, I think one of his books at that time. And it was a pretty high ticket item. And I knew I wanted a mentor. She was in line with that. And so we're like, all right, let's do it. In 2 months, we're sitting at the Chick-fil-A headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, which is an amazing, enterprise in and of itself. Sure. And, we're there at this John Maxwell event. It was called Executive Circle. And what it was we met 2 times, one in September. Again, we were going to meet in August, but every month we had a conference call with a different CEO.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Alan Mulally to Carly Fiorina to Casey Crawford to Ralph De La Vega. A lot of these just friends of John's. And, that's how I met John at that event. And I can remember we took a group picture, and, the culture of John Maxwell's team is unlike anything I've ever been around. They are the epitome of John in regards to he is your friend. Everyone that works for him, they're no better than any of us. He is your friend. There's no caste system. It doesn't work. It's very flat. It's very flat, which I love. And I remember, just building this relationship with him, and then that continued. And by part of that is we were sitting there, and guess we're in network marketing, and the person in charge of it said, hey, this isn't really for network marketers. And I said, I know, that's why we're here, because I don't want to have anything to do with network marketers because they gross me out. They're going back to that sales stuff. They're high pressure. They're like, I don't want any part of that. But that's what everyone says to do. And I don't want any part of that. I want to learn about healthy, good organizations. And she goes, all right, I get that. But, we'll invite you to our network marketing stuff. So we go there, get involved in network marketing a little bit. Get introduced to John's nonprofits, decide I love this. I love about transformation, just getting more involved. And ultimately came the opportunity that we were asked to say, hey, would you be on this advisory council? You're immersed in the community. And that's how we got there.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Instagram is super powerful. I've booked 98% of my guests through Instagram Messenger. And I don't do this stupid templated, like, hey, here's who I am. Like the guys that I'm this no-name guy, but I've been able to get Ed Mylett and Tim Story and Brad Lee and all these other guys on my show. And all I did differently was do a 30-second video, no more than 30 seconds on my phone. Hey, Ed, it's Eric Allen. I'm out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I know you have a house out here. Would love to have my show. I think you'll make a huge impact on my listeners. Hope to talk to you soon. And I send that to them. And that's how I booked every single one of my guests on my show. And typically it helps if I have the beard or this backdrop, because they usually will mention that in the response, like, dude, I love the beard, love the backdrop.
Yeah.
When can we sign up? And Instagram Messenger is super powerful. And if you do it right? I mean, I hate the sleazy, spammy crap that are on there.
I think if I had to put a box around that, which I love because that's been the same for me, is you were authentic, genuine, and you made a connection.
Right.
It's funny right now. Everyone wants to say, oh, LinkedIn is the new place to go. I hate LinkedIn. Why? Because I'm on there and I just want to add value to people. And I'm getting people like one of the worst ones that I got, and God bless their heart, because I know they're trying. It's not because they're trying to be, bad at what they're doing. Is, I'll get this message from somebody and they'll try to connect with me. And they haven't even asked who I am or what I do. And they're pitching me about their service. And I'm like, how do you even know I'm a fit? Going back to it earlier. And what's funny is one of them was a insurance financial company. And it happens to be the company that provides our life insurance. And I'm like, hello, dude, I'm a client of your company in the office you work in. Like, come on, dude, spend a little time. And so that's what I love about the fact of what you said. It's genuine.
Yeah.
It's not a copy and paste script. Now, if people need a script to have a formulation of ideas, that's great, but make it personal. Right. Like you kind of your script. I imagine if you send out 8 messages, it's going to be really similar, but it's not like a copy and paste where you mess up the name or whatever. No, that doesn't work.
Right.
I had the opportunity on my podcast. He's said he's going to come again to talk to John Gordon. John Gordon, the author, love his books. And I connected with him because he went to the same college I went to, and, built that rapport and connection. And if I think about, a lot of the guests people that I get to call friends are, it's just being that authentic, real person and not trying to be fake. because getting back to those insecurities, I think that's what gets us in trouble is when we're who we are, people know it. When we're, one of the things I'd love to say is you might as well admit your insecurities because everyone else knows it. And people are like, what do you mean they know? So they don't know exact insecurity, but they know when you're being insecure. They know when your insecurities are showing. So you might as well say, hey, my insecurities is showing like my sweaty pits, just accept it. We're all better off.
Yep. Man, so good. Like, absolutely. Like it's unbelievable. Like, especially with Clubhouse now, I think you're in Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And I mean, people on there, that's where like you get to see those insecurities. You get to see like, are they really the guys who are saying like, I'm an 8-figure coach? Like really, like you go to Instagram and they like have 5 followers. I'm like, come on, really? Like, that's such a great place. So I've connected with a ton of new people on Clubhouse. Like if you use it right, there's a lot of junk rooms that are starting to show up. But I've been able to network with massive names and been able to connect with them. That's a huge platform for me to just kind of get my name and my brand out there. And it's such a great platform. With about 8 minutes left, I wanted to just shift to a few questions that are fun for us here. 2 quick ones. Can anyone be an entrepreneur?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, whether we realize it or not, we're entrepreneurs every day.
Yep.
If you take care of your family, you're an entrepreneur. You're figuring it out. There's no one else telling you where to go, how to go. And I think it's a responsibility. It's saying I need to be responsible for my life. I will say as an employer having businesses, the best people to work with are the ones that have an entrepreneurial mindset because they take initiative. It's like, I can't rely on anyone else to do it. Now, one of the things we have to realize is a lot of people have been modeled or, the model before them has never been entrepreneurial. And so that's something that as leaders, we have to understand. It's like, hey, you can't expect people to understand being entrepreneurial when they've never had anyone model that for them. Yep. But it's all built into us as humans.
Yep. Does it take money to make money?
If it takes money to make money, no one would have money.
Yes.
It all started somewhere. And I think that is a trap we all tell ourselves. Hey, I'm guilty of that. Right. I'm absolutely guilty of that. And I think, as I've learned anything, the greatest businesses, the greatest success starts when you have nothing. I look at people in our industry, network marketing, it's the ones that have no time, that have nothing. Their back is against the wall. They're borderline desperate, but yet they're inspired. Those are the ones that go on to change the world.
Yes.
It's, I worked again in the dairy industry, and I saw this in a lot of ways. I heard stories about first generation immigrants, and in California, there's a lot of Dutch, there's a lot of Portuguese. And I heard these amazing stories of this one family where 3 brothers came over to the United States. They land in California. They're in, essentially greater Los Angeles, California, and they start working on a dairy farm, the 3 of them. And what they ended up doing is the 3 of them worked 24 hours a day. But what they would do is 2 brothers would work, 1 would sleep. That's all they did. They did that for years. They stayed in this little room off the side of the barn where the cows were milked. That's where they lived. And they ate beans. They ate, saved so much money. They are the largest family-owned, family of dairy operators in the state of California now.
Wow.
And what's cool about that is you see that opportunity. And as I've learned from people, this is what's unique about the U.S. is that's there. That's why a lot of those immigrants came. But here's the fault, is they were able to teach those generations that came after them, that second generation, their sons and daughters, those virtues. The problem gets into like the 3rd generation that hasn't had that adversity, hasn't had to go figure it out on their own. So they've had plenty of money to go make money. But yet if they don't have that desire to, like that desperation, a lot of them lose it. And I saw just as many, these family generational businesses at the 3rd generation lose it because they didn't understand the work ethic, the sacrifice that has to go into it.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Last question for you. I'm a music guy, so I love to ask this question. What's a favorite type of music for you, or do you have a favorite band that you like to listen to?
Oh, dude, let's see. I'm just going to open up my I'm an iTunes guy.
Yep.
I'm not a Spotify. And I'm going to, for your listeners, okay, this is my library. And I'm going to read off the artists. I'm going to just read off the first 5 to show you how eclectic. Aaron Schust, AC/DC, Addison Road, Adele, AFI. All right. Okay. This is what I love a good beat.
Yeah.
I love, it's funny. My kids, they have a gift from their mother. They can hear something and they can recite it. Dude, you could tell me something 6 times in a row and I'm going to have a hard time remembering it. Now, I have a photographic memory. I look at it, I can tell you exactly what I saw, but music is about a beat. I love, hey, I'd say right there, AC/DC, that's some good stuff because it's got a tone and a beat that keeps you going. But
Yep.
I also got some, I get made fun of because I got Hillary Duff too. I mean, come on, dude.
Come on, that's awesome. I love that you have AFI on there, man. Those guys are rad. When I worked for Universal Records way back in the day, I got to go hang out with those guys in their trailer before they went on the show, man. And super nice guys. And this was like back in 2001. So it was like, just like they were just building up this awesome, I guess fans at the time, right? But super great guys, man. That's awesome that you have that on there. Yeah. Tyler, such an honor to have you on my show, man. You are changing the world, brother, man. Thank you so much for taking time and joining me today.
I appreciate that. And I'm thankful I've been given the opportunity to be able to share from some of my pains, my struggles, my insecurities, and make an impact in others. And that's what I've realized. And if I can help people accomplish something they didn't think they could, dude, I'm fulfilled. I'm excited. I'm happy. And, as I was listening to John Maxwell this morning, one of the things he was sharing is about legacy. And, he created his legacy. You got to be intentional about that. And he said, I want to be known for leadership. And there's a part of me, it's like, I want to be known for impact, not necessarily the impact I made solely, but helping others make an impact. And that's what just gets me excited. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here. Love chatting with you, dude. I'm excited for this stuff for you to come and love watching it and just appreciate your continual effort to stay consistent and do your thing.
Thank you so much for watching the show today. I appreciate it. If you could, please leave a rating and review on our Apple podcast. The link is down below. That helps us get our message out, get the show out, helps us get ranked out there on the Apple podcast. Also, leave a comment below, man. I'd love to know what part of this show made the most impact on you. I respond to every comment on there. And please share this video, whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please share it out. We want to make sure that we impact as many people as we can with the guests that come on my show and highlight those guests and what they've got going on, and they're changing the world. So thank you so much for the time. So appreciate it. Have an awesome day.